We're back. It's the Horns Up Talking Texas podcast. Fisher DeSopoulos, DJ, Nikki, Snacks, Kreider. Gentlemen, we always cover football. We cover basketball. We have to tip our caps. All 130 caps I would have on my wall behind me if I wasn't in Florida right now. We have to tip all of our caps to the women's volleyball team going back-to-back national champions in volleyball. Unbelievably epic out of these ladies. They were the number 2 seed in their region, and they went through a gauntlet. You know, they took down Stanford in the Elite Eight. They beat Wisconsin in the Final Four, and they beat the top seed Nebraska in 3 straight sets to win it all. There was some horns downs being thrown. That was over. We absolutely, they dominated the Nebraska Cornhuskies, the ladies. And Asia O'Neal, Jermaine O'Neal's daughter, she's the all-time school leader in blocks, and she was an all-20 team member. Ella Swindle, top freshman, all-20 team member. She was the Gatorade Player of the Year in volleyball in Mizzou, and she was fantastic. I believe she was our setter. Tassi, you played volleyball, so you can correct me on my lingo if I'm incorrect.
Ella's our setter. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Nice. There we go. I'm a beach volleyball player, but Tassi's our resident volleyball expert. And Madison Skinner, she was this is really interesting. Madison Skinner is a transfer from Kentucky. She beat Texas in the national championship in 2020. When she was a member of the Lady Wildcats. Now she comes over to the Lady Horns and she wins the national championship for her 3rd national championship. She was on the team last year. She's
pulled an AD Mitchell.
Yeah, exactly. She pulled an AD Mitchell, fingers crossed. And she was also all 20. So they really put together an absolutely amazing performance. And it sets the tone for our university. The football is such a focal point of our show. It's such a focal point of the school. But we talk about it a lot, honestly, on and off, the mic. There are so many other sports that are so dominant. Our swimming and diving team for, decade plus has been amazing, right? The women's volleyball team, even, when they're not winning, they're in it. Like I mentioned, they lost to Kentucky in the finals. They're always in the mix. It's such a great program. Our baseball team has been solid. Our basketball team is back to fruition. So not only is the football team back and rolling, we have so many other great programs and student athletes on campus. And the women's volleyball team is probably tops out of all of them, not to, pick our favorite children, but they really are kicking ass, man. And yeah. it is such a good tone for our university.
Yeah, 100%. And, at the end of the day, winning is contagious, and when it rains, it pours. We say it all the time, and we've been waiting for a long time for the other 2 big sports to follow suit in the footsteps of volleyball and, of course, women's soccer and track and field and golf. Where we're so dominant all the time, and we're on the doorstep right now of punching our ticket to a championship game. So super excited for the women and to see what they're able to do and to kind of give our boys momentum as well to go out and win this natty. But yeah, super exciting right now. It's good to be a Longhorn. As we're recording this, news just broke. We landed another one, transfer portal, Andrew Makuba coming to Texas, baby.
Yep.
Wow.
The safety from Clemson, right?
Yep. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. He's from Austin originally. He went to LBJ. Obviously it's someone that we lost in our own backyard a couple years ago, but he's coming in with some eligibility and he's going to rep the burnt orange, switching over the orange and going to play at home and hopefully anchor down this defense. We talk about how this secondary is young and, needs to mature a little bit, with Brooks on the outside and Muhammad. We're big fans of those guys. Derek Williams back there as well. You got Michael Taft, but I really think that we're looking for some true veteran leadership to really get this secondary in tip-top shape when we head into the SEC.
Beautiful guy. I couldn't think of a better guy. I couldn't think of a better call. Thank you for announcing that. That's amazing. And
it's interesting because just tying the volleyball with the football here, John Cook, the Nebraska volleyball coach, in his post game was highly critical of the fact that Skinner was someone who had transferred to our program and that we had a lot of upperclassmen, especially upperclassmen who had transferred. And they had a young team in Nebraska, very talented. They were the number 1 team in the regular season, but we absolutely routed them. In that second and third game, we beat them 25-14 and 25-11. And if you're not a volleyball fan or you don't know volleyball, that's like winning in an NBA game by 30 plus points, basically, is the best way to put it. Yes, they dominated. That's if you're doubling the amount of points that they have, it's an incredibly impressive feat. They also went on an 11-point run in the first game, which is a tremendous feat as well. And so it just goes to show what we want to build as a winning culture of Texas sports here on the football side. It's bringing in those transfers who are talented, who can get on the field in football I'm talking about now, right off the bat, but also growing the guys that you recruit and keeping them on the 40 acres. And so I think, 4 of our 6 starters on that volleyball team were recruited and have been with the university, and 2 of those starters were transfers, right? And we're doing the same thing. It's a combination, and we're playing the game how it's supposed to be played in the current moment. And those transfers can really make a difference for a program. And, certainly we're losing, you mentioned Taff, right, Nick? Like, he'll be gone next year. So we're going to have to replace him, and we're going to have to bring more veteran leadership in on the defensive backfield. And so this Makuba it's huge. It's huge for us. Yeah. And then we hadn't mentioned on our show, but Nick, a wide receiver last week that committed to us as well.
Yeah. Makuba is the #1 rated safety in the portal, by the way. So it's huge that when you're going out and getting the top guy at your position, and someone who's going to start right away. But yeah, Matthew Golden out of Houston, receiver that a lot of people are drawing comparisons to Xavier Worthy, can be a guy that really just slots in and takes over the same kind of role that Xavier had as a kick returner. And as a speedster on the outside. He had 2 touchdowns against us this year in the Houston game against us. So it's nice that, he had some success against us. And I think it's kind of one of those situations where you perform against our guys, we want to have you on our team. So super excited to see what he can do. I think he was the number 3 wide receiver in the or number 2, depending on who you look at it, number 2, number 3 ranked wide receiver in the portal. So super exciting that we went out and got him. And I think at the end of the day, you want to be able to replace the speed that you lost, that you're going to lose with Xavier Worthy. And honestly, we see it all the time. I mean, when a guy has a tandem, out there on the edge with Jonte Cook, when he steps up, it's going to be a lot of fun to see these guys, have success with each other when corners decide to go over and cover the other guy, and then you leave the other guy open and then you beat him deep. So excited to see the speed on each side of the ball.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up Matthew Golden, not only in the receiving game, but the return game as well. And we got to replace an all conference return man in Xavier Worthy. And that's what he was. He was an all Big 12 first team, returner.
2 touchdowns this year. Returning. Yeah.
So that's all. It's special teams with Toss's guy. I mean, I guess everybody's guy, Big Bert, Bert the leg, he was great. And we were always, putting out punters. Like, we had a really strong special teams year, and we need to keep that momentum going in the SEC, where you can't afford to make any mistakes in any phase of the ball. So getting a guy who's experienced in the return game and a strong receiver in Golden was another massive get for Sark. I also want to throw out Colin Simmons and Alex January. They play on Duncanville. They won 6A title this season. Big time. Simmons is, I feel like he's one of those guys like Anthony Hill, who is just truthfully going to be as advertised. But his running mate, I did a deeper dive into a guy like Alex January, who's not a 4-star guy. He's not a 5-star guy. He's a 3-star guy, but he's a defensive lineman. He's 6'4".
Well, it depends where you look. I've been seeing 4-star rankings on him.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at the stars. I'm looking at the height. I'm looking at the weight. That boy is 6'4", 325. That is an absolute moose in the middle. And you know what? It's 3-star, 2-star, 1-star. We're developing guys now. It's a completely different program where we're not just trying to itch that, star. We're not star hunting, right? We're not trying to get the 5-star guys like you. The reports from A&M, like little brother was like, Jimbo Fisher only cared about the ratings and the stars. He didn't care about any of the intangibles, any of the potential off-the-field issues these kids had. He was just going after 5 stars so his class looked the best. Doesn't matter for us anymore. Ford, 3-star guy. Burke, 3-star guy. We're developing dudes. It's a completely different program.
I mean, you look at what Tavondre Sweat looked like when he joined our team as a young freshman, and man, it looks like someone completely ate that person and has rebirthed a new man in Tavondre.
Yeah, but turned him into protein.
Exactly,
like protein,
straight protein, baby. But yeah, it's awesome that we're able to be in the mix for these guys now, and it's fun to see what we're able to turn out. Hopefully, they get another big transfer portal commit here pretty soon in Trey Moore. I mean, I think people are locking him in to come to Texas. He's the number 3 edge in the portal, number 13 overall player on On3 rankings, and coming from UTSA, it's nice to see a guy that is kind of in your backyard already from Spring Branch, Texas, and come over and have 2 years of eligibility to play at Texas. I mean, he'll slot in nicely with some of the guys that we're losing as well.
Yeah, I think we got Xavier Filsaime. I think we got the flip
Florida.
from Florida. I think we
Is
just
that why
got
you raised your arms just now?
That's why I didn't mean to jump you while you were talking and distract you. But yes, that is why I raised my arm.
So not a transfer. He's a flip on the recruiting side out of
That's what someone
yeah,
texted me.
yeah.
We got him.
Fawcett just tweeted it. He goes, breaking news, elite 2024 safety, Xavier Filsaime tells me he's flipped from Florida to Texas.
Wow.
He's from McKinney, Texas. So that's your own backyard again. I mean, you can't lose guys like that to Florida. But hey, talking about this secondary right here, this is a perfect addition right here. 5-star safety, one of the top guys in the class for himself. And that's just a huge commit for us.
Why wouldn't you come here? The thing about the freshman is this.
Having a day.
Yeah, we're having a great day. Muhammad plays as a freshman. Anthony Hill, especially on the defensive side of the football. Anthony Hill plays as a freshman. I know we said that Jonte Cook really didn't get his run this year at the receiver position, but Xavier Worthy played as a freshman. Like, if you're good, like CJ Baxter played as a freshman, you're gonna get your run. Best player plays in our system.
Yep.
So if Xavier Filsaime is what he's supposed to be, and he is a true 5-star player, he's gonna get some run at the safety spot. And we know how he rotate our defensive backs, Texas. Like, he is going to get his opportunity to play, and he's going to play in big games. And ultimately, like, I think he wanted to play for Florida. I think he was one of those guys that was vocal, but once people started to leave, like, you can't be the only one. You can't be like one of 2 dudes trying to resuscitate a program, especially with the way of the world right now, where like NIL, the way the culture is at Florida, they're not winning anything, and they're not going to probably win anything anytime soon. Like, they don't really have a promising future. They're not a top 7 team in the SEC with us and Oklahoma coming. So Florida's on the down, Texas is on the up. He's a kid that's in our backyard. It makes perfect sense for him to come home. And we're just adding piece after piece. And all of a sudden, like 3 years ago, our defense is like, oh, maybe this guy could pop off or that guy could pop off. Our defense is like a juggernaut this year, and it's looking to be a juggernaut for the years to come. It's it's like a real SEC team, a team that can actually be an SEC program.
I mean, at the end of the day, look, we're in the college football playoff with an SEC team as an SEC team now. And you don't want to just make your way in and then make your way out. And then that's that. Let the dust settle, right? Like, we want to ride this high. We want to ride this momentum, and heading into the conference where, there's going to be a big target on our back, where teams are going to want to prove that, what we played in was inferior to what they play in. And so, I think you have to literally just, I mean, it's such a cliche term, but all gas, no brakes. You just have to keep your foot on the pedal. I think it was very reminiscent of how our seasons have gone in years past, where we get complacent in our play, right, where we lose a lead or we give up a game, and we kind of take the foot off the gas pedal. And this year, I think it's been quite the opposite. I think we've continued to put our foot on the pedal despite a couple of close games. But regardless, I mean, it's the same way in recruiting. You want to look at this the same mentality is like, the best player plays, so get as many good players as possible. And if they don't want to be here, then they can transfer or whatever. But ultimately, we know that we have the right guys playing at each position. And I think it's awesome that we literally got 2 safeties today in the matter of an hour. We got Filsaime that we just mentioned, and we got Makuba. One of them is a little bit older, one of them is a little bit younger, so maybe they can learn from each other. I mean, I think that's an awesome program and an awesome culture that we're building. And look, I would not take us out of the mix either for some of these other big fish. I know that Ole Miss looks like they're going to lock up Walter Nolan here, but guys flip all the time. You take one good visit here, you meet one guy, and like, your entire perspective changes. I mean, I know a lot of this is motivated by NIL money, but look, I think we're in the mix for literally anyone.
Yeah, objectively, as like a college football fan, it'd be swag if Ole Miss was like back.
I mean,
and I think
they've crushed this transfer portal.
They've crushed it. They've murdered the transfer portal. But you know what? Like, I think they're in a way different place than Florida. Like, that's a team that's on the cusp. It's like the difference. They're like the Penn State almost of the SEC. Like every year, there's a chance they could knock off Bama or Georgia, and they just never get over the hump. Like those are their 2 losses this year, and they couldn't really put it together offensively as well as we thought. Like with Judkins, took a step back. Jackson Dart is a guy we all think can make that jump, and he just hasn't yet. But Lane Kiffin is a guru, and he's brought these guys in. He brought Juice Wells from South Carolina. He brought in the edge from Florida. And he's really throwing together a dominant performance. And, I think people are like, all right, 12-team playoff, Ole Miss can make that, should make that. And if Ole Miss gets the playoffs at the party at the Grove, like that's what you want to be a part of in college football. And that's what we're rebuilding. And like you want to bring a champ. You want to light that tower orange. Like that's sick. You want to bring a party to Austin, Texas, man. Like that's what you can do if you win the national championship. You can make it rain in Austin.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think it also helps that whatever your thoughts and opinions are on a guy like Lane Kiffin. If you're a football fan, you're a college football fan, you probably have multiple thoughts. But the guys like playing for him. They really do. And I think Sark he's a different type of guy than Lane, just from a composure standpoint, how he approaches things. But I think I at least could imagine myself being an 18-year-old and winding back the clock and being a really, really high talented football player and wanting to play for either one of those guys. And not to mention, then you get into talking about the Texas Longhorns and some of our position coaches, right? And we all know how we feel about PK and how I feel about Coach Choice and Coach Flood and the whole rest of those guys, right? And
Bo Davis,
and in and of themselves, they're guys that you want to go play for.
Yeah.
So I think it's, again, kind of circling back to, we were talking about the women's volleyball and just the criticisms from the Nebraska coach. It's like, you can really do damage in the portal. It's not the first step, right? But when you have everything else in place and you have that foundation, it can make things look really, really good, really, really fast. And it's hard pressed not to go into next season and say that Texas and Ole Miss aren't, 2 of the 3-4 best teams in the SEC, because Georgia, they'll bring back Beck, right? And they'll be up at the top, but they lose a lot of players. They're going to lose a lot on the offensive side with Bowers.
Sure.
And Alabama obviously will keep Milroe, but Burton will be gone. There'll be some other guys on that team that are gone as well. Of course, on the defensive side with Kool-Aid and Dallas Turner. So, they'll have to replace guys too, just like we will. We're defensive line. We're mentioning the secondary, but we're already doing a really good job of kind of just bringing in some of that depth and talent and position groups that could have been weaknesses if you had looked at the Longhorns going into the 2024 season 3 weeks ago, right? We're talking about the wide receiver position. I mean, we have Kane who's transferring out, right? We have Nair who's transferring out, but just the fact that now I can go into next season as a Longhorn fan and somebody talks about the team and say, we've got Wingo, right? We've got Jonte Cook and what's the guy from Houston? What's his last name?
I think Golden.
Right? So those are 3 guys that I believe can be contributors. And we've got Gunner, who's going to be our tight end.
We had Ryan Niblett last year too. So I feel like, there's still guys out there that, and DeAndre Moore Jr. I mean, I think we've got some depth, and watch. And during the spring, we're going to see some guys get in the mix that we didn't really, think about. I mean, we're losing Witt, we're losing Adonai Mitchell, and we're losing Xavier Worthy. Someone's going to have to step up.
Let me put this to you guys though. Like, yes, our passing attack is ferocious. But when push came to shove, what was our bread and butter on offense this year? It was the engine that made things go, was our run game. And if we get a healthy Jonathan Brooks back, if we get CJ Baxter with another year of seasoning and another offseason, and that's our 1-2 punch going into the SEC. And keep in mind, we bring back Campbell, we bring back our left tackle, who's going to be a top 10 pick in Mr. Banks. This team is dangerous. We also brought in Brandon Baker, offensive tackle from California. He's coming into the mix and he's going to work his way in. Hopefully, we recruited well on the offensive line. Like we're going to.
I just love that we're not complacent though, right? You're absolutely right, Josh. But I love that it doesn't mean that we're giving up on our wide receiver core, right? It doesn't mean that we're saying, oh, next year that's what we want. That's what will make our QB's job a lot easier. Always.
Yep. 100%.
Sark just tweeted on a heater, fire emoji, horns up.
Yeah, I mean,
damn right, Sark.
Good. But that's
damn right. On a massive heater.
But that's like what Lane Kiffin's like. That's what Lane Kiffin's like. He's like, look, you have to play the game, right? You either ride the wave or you get swept up by it. And these kids like Hayes Fawcett, because Hayes Fawcett makes cool graphics and he makes it look dope. They love the swag, and like we all made fun of Brian Kelly when he got into that video the other year, and like it was weird and awkward. But I will tip my cap to him. He's trying and making the effort and trying to like play the game.
And
You
what
got
I
to
will
play the
say
game a little bit.
about young kids, who are 17, 18 years old, is they're young and awkward, so
Yeah,
it's okay. So I get it though. I mean, at the end of the day, like these kids, they are finally becoming men. They're getting all this love, all this hype. There's NIL money getting thrown around. There's all these cool graphics, promo videos and stuff. They're used to being high school pep rallies, and now it's like, I could be thrown right in the mix of an SEC championship battle, on SEC Network, and get all these scouts at all my games, and I get all this swag, come in and out. I mean, you're giving them, the keys to the kingdom a little bit here. So it's really dope to see what we're able to do here. And Sark is really taking the Texas culture into consideration and using that as his recruiting tactic, which I love. We're building a culture here, and it's awesome. And I love that we're able to flip recruits in conference now, because Xavier Phillips-May was a Florida recruit.
Yeah.
Right. So he flipped from Florida, a fellow SEC team, now to Texas. And I hope we can do the same thing with some of A&M's guys, and I hope we can continue to do some of that stuff with OU's guys. So exciting stuff. But let's keep it rolling. I mean, we got some more news to talk about tomorrow and the next day, and we're really happy to be a part of this new network now too.
Yeah, we got to give a shout out. We are part of Texas Unfiltered now, joining up with our boy BK, Brad Kellner, big, young, a legend, but also a young legend at the same time, a homie from school, great voice. And it's a big honor to be a part of what he's got building over here. Us and Quan are real pumped. We have a special guest for you guys this week, so get excited about that. It's going to be really cool. We're not revealing who it is, but you'll recognize him. It's gonna be really fun, and exactly that's like maybe the most beautiful thing. Like it'd be one thing if like we had a really good season, we lost a couple games, and we were getting these recruits, and we're like, all right, next year when we get to the SEC, we're gonna be playing some ball. It's like, no, like yeah, the recruits are sick, but that's like not even the big story, not even close. The biggest story is yet to come, like, and that's in a couple weeks. So this momentum, this hype, the foot on the gas, Sark recruiting his ass off still, despite having a game plan. And I believe they just started practicing. They're back to practice today, right, for the Sugar Bowl. And we'll get into some more Sugar Bowl coverage this week, breaking down some more positions like Nick and I broke down last week with our DBs and their wide receivers. And we'll continue to, get a deeper dive going with all that good stuff. But it's really awesome to see that we're not stopping. We're 24/7. And we understand that this sport is 24/7 with recruiting. Like it never sleeps. And so it's good to see that our program is making the positive headlines that, unfortunately for a team like Florida, it's a negative headline today. And it's good to see that that's not us.
Christmas coming early here in Texas, though.
We love it. Little snow, baby.
And I would even say that's why not only is it important to recruit, to be active there like Coach Sark has been, but also to win. Right. And to keep winning, because that's part of the reason why he's making this decision not to go to Florida and go to the University of Texas. And you best believe if we go to the SEC and we're not producing, there are a lot of other schools and tape and coaches that those players that are on the Longhorns will be meeting every single week that can look appealing. Right. Mm-hmm. But winning cures all, as we know. Yep. And the more we keep winning, the more they want to come to the 40 acres, the more they want to don the burnt orange and play for SEC championships with the Texas Longhorns and play for college football playoff berths with the Texas Longhorns. So you're right. It's all gas, no brekes. And
I did
go ahead, Josh.
I'm so much football recruiting. I did want to talk a little hoops. I know. I asked you to close this out, but
before we talk hoops, just for anyone watching, listening out there, we are proud sponsors and voices of betonline.ag. So go to betonline.ag, use our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV. They will match your first deposit if you want to put a futures bet on the Longhorn hoops team to win the national championship. I'm not there yet, but the more and more I watch our guys play, Dylan Dessou back in the lineup, I get a little bit more excited about what we can do in March. And Josh, I'll let you kind of take it from there, buddy.
Changes absolutely everything for our team. First of all, here's the deal. if you bring in 5 transfers in the football side of things, let's say you bring 2 on offense, 3 on defense. There's 11 guys on either side of the football, and there's a lot of subs. So working those guys in, getting them acclimated to your culture is completely different than basketball. Basketball, think of all the transfers we have. You have Shedrick. He's coming in. He's brand new. He's getting valuable minutes. We have Asmus, who's a tournament darling, but he's still new to playing teams like this day in and day out. He's a transfer. Weaver, Onyema's a transfer, and Horton's a transfer. We have 5 transfers in our rotation. 2 of them starters. All right. And we had Dylan Dessou's our best player. He just is. Right. So we don't have him cooking either. So we had to deal with that at the beginning of the season, and we played some tough games here and there. And you're going to take your lumps. Like, look, UConn's a juggernaut, and that's just the long and short of it. And
we 2 losses are top 10 teams.
Exactly. So I think people were in panic mode. Here's what I'll say about RT. RT is we have to give him time. It's his first full season as our head coach. Yes, he took over last year, but it's his first full season as our head coach. He's recruited his ass off. He's got 3 top 50 recruits. Obviously, Trey Johnson's a top 10 recruit. So that's coming in next year. He's got a good foothold on a high school, despite losing out on Ron Holland. Everyone was ready to knock him off for losing Ron Holland. Guess what? Unfortunately for Ron Holland, and we always root for players, that's looking like a bad decision. He probably would have maybe benefited to come into Texas, right? He's not playing well in the G League. His stock is dropping. Dylan Mitchell this year is a completely different player. He's second in the Big 12 in rebounding. It's not like he's a 7-footer. He's aggressive. He's playing strong defense. I would love it if he developed a 3-point shot or really was a serious threat in offense. He's just not that guy right now. But his energy is really helping the team combine with Brock Cunningham for our forwards. And that's a really good starting lineup in our forwards. And you have Dessou back, and Dessou 9 of 9 from the line. It completely opens up the game for Asmus, it's not all on his shoulders to rip threes, try to facilitate. He's able to actually be a point guard, opens up the court. It creates more parity in our offense. And having a guy like Dessou, who in the second half and into the tourney last year was reborn and was the guy we actually recruited him from when he was transferred from Vandy to B, and to see him come back in his first game and drop 17 points and again go 9 of 9 from the stripe, like that's exactly what this team
20 minutes.
It's exactly what this team needed. And we put up 96 points against LSU. And was LSU a top 15 team, top 25 team? No. But they are a full-blown D1 SEC team with good players on it. One of their guys dropped 33 points. So
Jordan Wright's a good player on their team.
Yeah, sure. Jordan Wright, thank you. They are a legit team. So for us to go in and do that and put up that much points, like I would love it if our defense shored up a little bit, but it's going to happen in college basketball in a barn burner like that. We pretty much had a handle on that game the entire time. So I was really proud of our team, really proud of our boys. We have 3 really cupcake games coming up, and then we hit the Big 12, and the Big 12 is no joke this year. As it is, again, we always say it's the best basketball conference in all of college basketball. But the first 3 games, at least, we have we don't really see a great player until we get to UCF and see Sellers, who's one of the top scorers in the nation.
As it stands, there's 4 top 10 teams in the Big 12 right now.
I mean, dude, OU's undefeated. Kansas is just, as we knew going into it, is a juggernaut.
And Houston.
Baylor, and yeah, I want to see Houston play somebody. I mean, I'm not going to doubt them. I want to see them play somebody, of serious stature. But Baylor Walter is, a really top tier freshman. LJ Cryer, ironically, from Baylor to Houston, he's shooting the lights out the place for the Houston Cougars. So yeah, and again, BYU has Jackson Robertson, he's that guy is one of the top 3-point shooting guards in the nation. So they're no slouch either. It's a really and OU, like I said, Owe has been a phenomenal guard for OU, and he's really leading that team, and he's leading the charge over there. So it's going to be a fun Big 12 gauntlet. Unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, we don't see everybody multiple times. I believe we only play Kansas once because of the added teams to the Big 12. We can't play every team twice. So I believe we just play
twice, though.
Cool. All right. I'd rather play Houston twice than Kansas twice, to be honest.
And we play Oklahoma twice.
And Baylor twice.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'd rather play them twice than Kansas twice. The Kansas, I believe, is probably – I think them and UConn are the 2 best teams in the nation, ultimately, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of college basketball left to be played. To me, I mean, we played one of the best teams in the nation that handed us our more drastic loss than UConn did. Marquette is a really good basketball team. And
oh yeah,
They have my favorite guard in the NCAA. Tyler Kolek is
The
phenomenal.
Shaka revenge game.
Yeah. I mean, what Shaka? Look, Shaka he just loves those Northeast mid-major teams. Like he just knows exactly what the recipe is to make those teams successful. But yeah, I mean, Josh, one name you didn't mention who I'm excited. He had almost 20-point game last night. But Tyrese Hunter, right? Who was really hot in the Big 12 tournament last year when we played tremendous basketball for us during our Elite Eight run, and will need to be one of our best point scorers and 3-point shooters on this team to make Max has been our best player, in my opinion, up until now. And he's been asked to do the most. And I want to see Tyrese kind of re-grip the reins a little bit. And I almost want it to be a competition between the two guys. But last night, when you get 39 points from both your starting guards combined, that's great in college basketball. It's hard not to ask for more. But Dessou being back and those transfers really finding their footing and knowing what the rotation is and knowing who does what on this team. It's gonna make all the world's difference. But Dylan Mitchell, excellent decision to stay. You're right.
Excellent.
He's not a tremendous offensive basketball player, but I can tell you what, I absolutely know that he was working on his game because he is a better offensive player and a more confident offensive player with the ball in his hands on offense this year in comparison to last year. It's not just rim running. It's not just fast break dunks and layups. It's not just offensive putbacks like it was last year. He has added and developed, and that's what happens when you stay.
He could still throw down with the best of them too.
Yeah, he's a great.
That windmill that he had was sick.
He's a ridiculous athlete. Yeah, I mean, I was remiss in mentioning Hunter. Having a guy like, and I'll close out with this, having a guy like Dessou really, I want to emphasize it, opens up the court. So it allows our team to really shoot the three ball. We want to shoot threes, fine. But having a guy like Dessou, and no offense to Shedrick, who's a fine basketball player, but if Dessou's in the middle of the paint and he's in the inside, you have to respect him. He's a guy you have to respect because if he gets the ball, he's either going to score or he's going to get to the line. And we saw it last night how good he is from the line. Yep. He's a guy you have to respect his offensive game, and that opens up the rest of the team from behind the arc. And we saw it last night. We shot the lights out the place.
One more piece of recruiting news before we leave,
please.
Imari Winston, he's a tight end, 4-star out of Calhoun, Georgia, making his decision today at 5 p.m. Eastern. It's between us, Ohio State, and UCF, and we're the Cristobal favorite right now. So let's hope we add another tight end. I mean, as we know, Jachavian Sanders was such a huge addition to our offense this year, and if we can continue to turn out guys, who can pass ball or who can run block and catch passes, it would be huge for this program.
Look, man,
absolutely.
I could tell you why Texas. How about you tell me why not? If you could tell me a couple good reasons why you shouldn't come here, easy money sniper.
We keep moving up that board. 247 now has us as the number 5 recruiting class in 2024. Last week we were number 6. We're moving on up.
Oh, we might be number 4 by the end of the day.
Could be number 4. All right, guys, horns up. We'll see you guys next time. Shout out to Texas Sports Unfiltered. We're pumped to be with you guys going forward.
Hook 'em.